but not least, we are going to talk about organic and biochemical compounds very quickly. Organic compounds are covalently bonded compounds that contain carbon. So they're always covalent bonds and they always contain carbon. Now carbon atoms can bond to one another so that they form chains, rings, and even branching networks. And when they form these types of structures, sometimes it creates polymers, sometimes oils, and then sometimes it makes biochemical compounds that our bodies are actually very in need of. Now, the first type of organic compound that we're going to discuss is hydrocarbons. This is when a compound is only made up of carbon and hydrogen, and that's kind of easy to understand because when a compound is only made up of carbon and hydrogen, that's what the name comes up from, hydrocarbon. So hydrocarbons only have carbon and hydrogen. Now, carbon atoms form 4 covalent bonds in organic compounds. And that's because they have 4 valence electrons, so it leaves 4 places open for them to be able to bond. Now, these 4 bonds can consist of 4 single bonds, 2 double bonds, or a triple and single bond. There are 4 types of hydrocarbons that we're going to discuss in this lesson. The first type are alkanes, and they contain single carbon-to-carbon bonds. So see right here where the carbons are attached by 1 bond, and that's all. And the name of this is ethane. So notice that alkane ends in A-N-E, and the names of these hydrocarbons are going to end in the same ending. So ethane, methane, butane, anything that has single carbon-to-carbon bonds have that same A-N-E ending. Now, alkenes contain double carbon-to-carbon bonds. So right here in the middle, you're going to see that this contains a double bond. So anytime you see 2 lines, that means a double bond. And now this is methane. Okay, and as you can see, alkenes, methane, ethene, butene, anything that contains the double carbon-to-carbon bonds have that E-N-E ending. Now, alkynes contain triple carbon-to-carbon bonds. And as you can see right here, you have a triple bond. And so the name for this would be butane. So alkynes, butane, you can have methyne, ethyne, anything that is an alkyne is going to have the Y-N-E ending. And if you'll notice, alkanes, alkenes, alkynes, they're in alphabetical order and numerical order. That will help you be able to remember them. Now, there can be substitutes added onto one of these. And so I can take a hydrogen off and replace it with different substitutes. And one of these substitutes are called alcohols. Now, alcohols contain oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen. And they always have a hydroxyl group, which is with this OH group right here. And it's attached to the hydrocarbon. So if we pluck a hydrogen off, put a hydroxyl group on, then this becomes an alcohol. And instead of being methane, it becomes methanol, because alcohol, methanol, the endings again represent one another. Now you need to pause the video and label 1 through 8 either an alkane, alkene, alkyne, or an alcohol. So that's what I want you to do right now. Pause the video and resume once you're ready to look at the answers. All right, number 1 right here is an alkane because it only has 1 single bond, carbon to carbon. Number 2 is going to be an alkyne, 3, alkene, and 4 is an alcohol. Now let's look at the ones that just have the names. Propanol is going to be an alcohol. See that OL in the name? Propyne is going to be an alkyne. Methane is going to be an alkane. And butene is an alkene. If you got any of these wrong, make sure you put a star next to it or write down the questions that you have so that we can discuss it tomorrow. Now, a polymer is the second type of organic compound that we're going to talk about, and it's a molecule that is a long chain of smaller molecules. And these are just made up of repeating subunits. And so they're organic compounds that are just made up of repeating subunits. Now, biochemical compounds are organic compounds that can be made by living things. such as plants, humans. And some of these biochemicals that are made up by living things include carbohydrates, protein, and even DNA. Now this concludes our video, and what I would like you to do is I'd like you to do an Instagram summary. And in an Instagram summary, I'd like you to draw a picture that represents today's video and tell me why it represents today's video. So I hope you have a great evening, and I'll see you in class.